Hey everyone, my name's Marc Bates. I'm a metabolic health coach, and today's topic is fatty liver. Yum, Okay, with nearly 4 in 10 people worldwide now living with fatty liver disease, the urgency of the situation cannot be overstated. That's what's more concerning is that most individuals are unaware of their condition. This silent epidemic has become so widespread that it is now considered the most common liver disease globally. Yet, despite affecting over a billion people, it remains undiagnosed until serious complications arise. What makes this crisis particularly alarming isn't just its scale, but its trajectory. The prevalence of fatty liver disease has increased by 50.4% between 1990 and 2006. And between 2016 and 2019, if the current trends continue, the projections suggest it will affect 55.7% of the global population by 2040. But the most troubling aspect is what's happening to our children. It's a pediatric crisis unfolding. The numbers tell a devastating story. In obese children under 10 years old, 47% already have fatty liver disease. For those above 10 years old, that number jumps to a staggering 74%. Think about that. 3 out of 4 obese adolescents have a condition that can lead to liver failure, cancer, and early death if left unchecked. And unlike adult cases, there are virtually no standardized guidelines for diagnosis, follow-up, or treatment in pediatric populations. This metabolic health crisis in children is essentially being ignored at a systematic level. For adults with type 2 diabetes, the situation is equally dire. The global prevalence of fatty liver disease among diabetic patients sits at 65 and a third percent, with regional variations reaching over 80% in Eastern Europe and over 70% in the Middle East. The mortality implications are severe. People with type 2 diabetes who develop fatty liver disease face an all-cause mortality rate approximately 4 times higher than the general population. A disease by any other name. Understanding this condition requires first understanding its name change. What we've long called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, is now being renamed metabolic dysfunction associated steatotic liver disease, MASLD. Similarly, the more severe form, previously known as non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, NASH, is now called metabolic dysfunction associated steatohepatitis, MASH. This terminology shift isn't mere semantics. It represents a crucial recognition that this disease is fundamentally linked to broader metabolic dysfunction rather than simply being a liver-specific problem. The liver doesn't exist in isolation. When it accumulates fat, it's usually a symptom of systematic metabolic issues affecting multiple organs and systems. This renaming helps patients and clinicians make the connection between liver health and overall metabolic health, potentially leading to more effective interventions. The carbohydrate connection. From a metabolic perspective, fatty liver disease is particularly interesting because it can respond quickly to dietary intervention, specifically carbohydrate restriction. In one remarkable study, 4 days of a low carbohydrate diet reduced liver fat content by 35.3%. That's a lot. The participants weren't even on a strict ketogenic diet, just a moderate carbohydrate restriction of about 100 grams a day. This rapid improvement occurred because the dietary shift affected multiple metabolic pathways simultaneously. First, it increased ketone production, which protects liver cells. Second, it enhances whole body fat oxidation, making the body more efficient at fueling fat. Third, it decreased de novo lipogenesis, the liver's process of creating new fat molecules from dietary carbohydrates. Yes, the fat Your liver will do that. These changes occurred even when caloric intake remained unchanged between low and high carbohydrate diets. This challenges the notion that all calories are metabolically equal and suggests that the type of calories, particularly from carbohydrates, matters significantly for liver health. Okay? The metabolic mechanisms. To understand why carbohydrate restriction works so effectively, we need to examine what causes fat accumulation in the liver. Liver fat accumulation results from an imbalance between fat intake, uptake from blood and creation of new fat, and fat output, breakdown and secretion. When we consume carbohydrates, especially refined ones, right? Breads, grains, they're ground up, right? All those ones, right? Refined carbohydrates. Insulin levels rise. And in most of my videos talk about insulin as something to watch. Insulin promotes fat storage. Yes, insulin is the hormone that causes this, while inhibiting fat breakdown. It's a double whammy. Even when caloric intake remains constant, a higher carbohydrate meal triggers more insulin secretion than a lower carbohydrate meal with the same calories. This insulin response helps explain why even isocaloric, the same level of calories, diets with different carbohydrate content can produce dramatically different effects on liver fat. So once again, calories are not a good measure. It's how your body processes the food. Okay? At a molecular level, research suggests that ketones produced during carbohydrate restriction may upregulate antioxidant proteins that protect liver cells from inflammation and oxidative stress. Okay, ketones are very important. This protective effect of ketones, particularly through the upregulation of proteins like MT2, could be a key mechanism in the beneficial effects of ketogenic diets against fatty liver disease in preclinical models. One such protein, MT2, appears to play a crucial role in the protective effects of ketogenic diets against fatty liver disease in preclinical models. Okay? So, ketogenic diets really do help clean your liver and help protect you. Okay, real quick, if you'd help me out, please like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of this. It does help the channel a great deal. I would appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, beyond diet, quality matters. It's important to note that not all low carbohydrate diets are created equal. The quality and composition of dietary fat matters tremendously. Trans fats, in particular, have been shown to promote rather than alleviate fatty liver disease. Okay? This underscores the importance of focusing on whole, unprocessed foods when implementing any dietary intervention. Remember, trans fats almost all come from your vegetable oils, highly processed oils. Right? When they get heated up, they convert into trans fats, which are just nasty types of fat that harm your body. A well-formulated, low-carbohydrate approach would emphasize natural fats from sources like olive oil, avocado, nuts, fatty fish, as well as, most importantly, beef tallow, lamb tallow, as really great sources of nutrients and cooking fat. Okay, you've got to basically get rid of anything industrially processed that's an oil or cooking fat, because they turn into trans fats immediately. This underscores the importance of focusing on whole, unprocessed foods when implementing any dietary intervention. Okay, calories don't count. Don't look at a box and say, "Oh, I can eat this because it's low calorie." No, it's a highly processed food with all kinds of trans fats in it. When you're looking at the ultra processed foods, they provide virtually none of the essential nutrients, right? Where whole natural foods provide essential nutrients and are less likely to contribute to metabolic dysfunction. So it does matter what you eat. urgent needs for intervention. The data paints a clear picture. Fatty liver disease represents one of the most significant metabolic health crises of our time, affecting billions worldwide and growing rapidly in prevalence. Its connection to broader metabolic dysfunction means we can't address it in isolation. Any practical approach must consider the entire metabolic landscape, including insulin resistance, carbohydrate metabolism, and systematic inflammation. Everything I cover talking about metabolic health. Despite the alarming statistics, there is hope. The liver has shown remarkable resilience and capacity for recovery when provided with the right conditions. The rapid improvements seen with even moderate carbohydrate restriction suggests that effective dietary interventions could be a powerful tool in addressing this epidemic. For clinicians, the message is clear. Screening for fatty liver disease should be a standard practice, especially for high-risk populations, like those with obesity, type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, or metabolic syndrome. For researchers, there is an urgent need for larger long-term studies on dietary interventions, particularly in pediatric populations where the disease is rising most rapidly. For individuals, awareness of this silent epidemic is not just a step, but a leap toward prevention and early intervention. By understanding the prevalence and implications of fatty liver disease, we can take proactive steps to protect our health. So looking forward, the renaming of fatty liver disease to emphasize its metabolic roots represents an essential shift in conceptualizing and addressing this condition. By recognizing fatty liver disease as a manifestation of broader metabolic dysfunction rather than an isolated liver problem, we open the door to more effective interventions that target the underlying causes rather than just the symptoms. The evidence suggesting that carbohydrate restriction can rapidly reduce liver fat content offers a promising avenue for both prevention and treatment. While more research is needed, particularly on long-term outcomes and optimal dietary approaches, the preliminary data is encouraging. We can no longer afford to ignore this epidemic, with forecasts predicting that over half the world's population may have fatty liver disease by 2040. The time for awareness and screening and intervention is now. The liver stands at the crossroads of metabolism, processing everything we eat and drink. By understanding and addressing the metabolic roots of fatty liver disease, we can improve both liver and overall metabolic health for billions of people worldwide. This problem will not resolve itself, but with greater awareness, earlier detection, and evidence-based interventions, we can begin to turn the tide on what may be our generation's defining metabolic health crisis. Thank you for watching. Once again, leave a comment, leave questions, contact me for any help. Thank you.